A lot of the international communities are kind of like walled off. Like they get their little group.
Istanbul is also very highly unpredictable, and it's an ever-changing.
He was like, just live today. Worry about today. This is Turkey. Live today.
In today's world, the media does its own position on portraying what a place is like.
More people from the U.S. and Europe should really take a look at Turkey.
Turkey is also in a period of transition, a period of future growth.
A lot of times want a plan B, not for maybe not for themselves, but for their children. Hi everyone, and welcome to our new podcast series where Josiah and I are just going to dive into Turkish real estate, being here as a foreigner, culture, business overview, wealth management, etc. It's a new series where we just want to reach out and answer questions and really just try to provide some transparent information into the daily life and business of being an expat here in Turkey.
I think this format works for us, Justin. I know we enjoy each other's company, and then of course we get the chance to work together and really represent one of the coolest projects in Istanbul.
Yeah, absolutely.
While at the same time,
Yedi Mavi. Whoop, whoop. Yeah.
At the same time, being both from the States, in Istanbul, a dynamic, significant player, I think, in the world arena anyway. And how long have you been here in Turkey now?
So 8 years now. Kind of off and on. I've been here full time 8 years. Was here from 2010 to like middle of 2011.
Wow.
I've spent a lot of my adult life in Turkey.
Yeah.
A lot of my professional life in Turkey. And so, Turkey's a place that's near and dear to my heart. Obviously, Istanbul's home. Anytime I go out and travel and get away, it's always like, when I come back, it's like the place where it's like, oh, okay, everything's calm again until you get in traffic. But
sure.
It's a nice place.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here 3 years. In fact, just this week, I'm celebrating 3 years of being in the country. And, certain challenges. Fortunately for me, I've had the opportunity to live in other big cities. I think sometimes just a huge city can be overwhelming. Lots of traffic, lots of distance to travel, lots of locations, lots of different types of people. But it is its own specific place, and I think that's why there's so many different types of foreigners living in Istanbul. Is a very special place to be.
But it's kind of unfortunate because we don't see like the major like U.S. expat population that we see in like some other places around the world. I think because of the size of Istanbul, that it's really a lot of foreigners are scared to kind of jump into the market and to jump into the city because they don't know where to get started.
True.
And so hopefully over the next couple of weeks and months, we can help answer some of these questions for people and make it more approachable, because once you get into it, it's really hard to get out. I mean, it's a lovely place. Right. But I do remember kind of coming the first time and being the deer in the headlights, like, whoa, man, what's going on?
Yeah.
How was your adaptation? Did you adapt pretty easily, or
Yeah, obviously I moved here for work, and I think when and it's not the first place out of the United States that I'd lived and worked in, but you kind of, in the beginning, you get into this, I want to meet the foreign expat community.
Right.
So you join internations, you go and you meet all these different types of people from all around the world, and you can maintain those relations or not maintain those relations. In my case, of course, mostly spending time at work, with a busy schedule and in real estate sales.
Real estate demanding.
It is. I mean, it is, but. So you get close to those people that you work with, of course. You make relations in specifically our field, with the agencies, and when again, they're from a vast amount of different countries and backgrounds and everything. So you get to enjoy those relationships as well. But I can't say that I'm totally plugged into the international community, at least today.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, especially for us from the U.S. here. But the major challenge is, of course, the city is very large, and you stay in your own kind of neighborhood per se.
Yeah.
On day-to-day or weekly regimes.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I haven't really thought about that, but you're right. You really do kind of get in to like your own little neighborhood, and we call it a neighborhood, but, you know, in the States, it'd be a city, right?
Right.
I live in, to the north and, you know, in Göktürk and those areas. And, you know, it's a small city. It's not a,
Sure.
you know, we call it a neighborhood.
A large community.
It's probably 200,000 people. You know, I mean, I grew up in Tennessee, and my town was like 50,000 people.
Right.
So my neighborhood is larger than my entire city. So it's a unique adaptation. You know, I kind of had I had a little bit of a different experience because my wife being Turkish. So I was ultimately more plugged into the Turkish side, kind of from the get-go. Which then it made it a little bit more difficult to then get into that international community. Because what I found is like a lot of the international communities are kind of like walled off. Like they get their little group and then, you know,
They're quite normal. They're
friendly.
They live in their little bubble, right? Everyone's in their little bubble, and everything's known and expected. And I just think that's also a little bit about where we're from, that we stay in these kind of little, you know, little isolated, you know, safe zone, which makes, I think, come to think about it, Istanbul is also very highly unpredictable. And it's an ever-changing, you know, whether you look at it economically, you look at it politically, you look at it, you know, so we kind of learn to be a little bit more flexible with living.
You have to be. Yeah. And it was funny. I was talking with Hakan, you know, our CEO of Mars Real Estate, and he told me something. It actually had a big impact on me because he said, we were talking about the future, and he said, Justin, you think about the future so much. And I was like, you know, that's a very American thing. Like, I have to work 30 years, so I'm going to put into my 401k, and then I can draw Social Security at this age, and then I can retire.
Right.
And we're just like so focused on the future. And he was like, just live today. Worry about today. This is Turkey. Live today. Worry about today. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And when I kind of took that advice, I was like, I found myself being a lot happier, and you know, just being more in the moment. And I think in this city, you have to be, right? It's not that you can't plan for your future or you can't think about the next stage or your retirement or whatnot. It's just that here, you know, the culture itself is more focused on in the moment today. And that's something that having a family here has been really enjoyable because we're really focused on just being together and controlling what we can control in the moment.
Right.
And it's made our relationships a lot different. And I think that's why you see that the communities here are just so much warmer, right? Because they're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. And they're not stressing themselves about, you know, this deadline that's coming up or the kids' school performance. It's just like, we'll get through it today and then we'll worry about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the flip side is, you know, that could drive somebody crazy, you know, not knowing and not planning and not hitting those, you know, kind of expectations. But I think for all of us, you know, we also are open to travel. I think that's another thing that I love in a way, but being in Istanbul, we're in the center of the world. Heading home is not too bad, but heading and exploring. I think you just took a trip.
Yeah. I mean, we spent 50 hours in Tanzania.
Right.
We jumped on the flight Friday afternoon. We got down there like at 2:00 in the morning Saturday, immediately checked in, got to sleep, woke up by 9:30, had breakfast, hit the streets, completely ran around Dar es Salaam and you know, and saw the things. And then Monday morning at like 6:35, we were back heading this way, and we were here at 3:00 on Monday. And there's no, in the States, you can't do that. If you want to do that, you're going from like, North Carolina to California. Yeah, you're not or not leaving the country.
Yeah. Or I mean, Canada or Mexico or something like that. But I mean, that's in very much, completely different. When I was living overseas, and I was living in Kazakhstan for many years, it was either Thailand, it was, Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It was the kind of those areas. So being in Istanbul, you have all of Europe to explore. Everything.
I mean, it's incredible. And I think that, more people from the U.S. and Europe should really take a look at Turkey. I think that oftentimes Turkey's kind of presented as like this really, kind of like this unstable place with constant change. And I'm thinking like to myself, have you spent any time here? Turkey's no more volatile than the States. So I was talking the other day about, you're just in the moment here running around. You don't see the like police presence that you see in the States, right? Like you're in traffic. You're not constantly like worried, like, oh man, he's gonna, I'm doing 46 on a 45.
Yeah.
Is he gonna pull me over? Is he not gonna pull me over?
Yeah.
Like you're just able to be a little bit more relaxed, right? It's Mediterranean. It's warm-blooded, calm down, relax, enjoy life a little bit more. And so I think that's been a very interesting change. And I think that a lot of people who come, they witness it and they're like, yeah, I never would have guessed it. You see it a lot with like the guys passing through on the cruises and they spend a couple of days here and they're like, I never would have imagined that Turkey is the way that it is.
Sure.
You get asked sometimes, do you have electricity? And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, we do. I mean, it's a completely modern city.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And I'd really like to see more of, more Americans and more Canadians and English folks take advantage of the country to see what it has to offer. Because I think that they're really missing out from the food and the travel and just being so well connected. And despite some of the inflation issues and things, it's still relatively affordable depending on the type of lifestyle that you want to live.
Right.
If you want to live a luxury lifestyle in New York, that ain't cheap.
Of course.
So everything's all about your perspective on things.
Sure.
And I'd like to see more of that positive perspective and that positive kind of openness to Istanbul exist.
Yeah, and I think that we can all agree that in today's world, the media does its own position on portraying what a place is like, and I do hope too, as you do, to see more and more visitors to Turkey. I think it's something that needs to be shared. And I'm happy, every time I get to go back to, in my case, Hawaii. Right. It's definitely very exotic from that side. But to share a little bit about the country, and then of course, the food, the culture, the history. And so it really has something for everybody. And then of course, those that want to purchase real estate, an attractive market, very steadily increasing year on year in regards to value. And we get the opportunity to work with fantastic buyers and investors from all over the world.
Yeah.
So enjoy what we do, and we make use of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that they should also understand that there's an opportunity for a secondary passport here. People a lot of times want a plan B, not for maybe not for themselves, but for their children. Mm-hmm. So Turkey offers it for $400,000. Them and their spouse and any children under the age of 18 are eligible for citizenship. And I think that that's a really good thing, because it opens up the world to, some other places like in Africa and Asia and Middle East and things that, maybe as the U.S. citizen we have to get a visa for. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of opportunities, especially if you've got the money to invest. There's a lot of opportunities to really, really make some good money in Turkey.
Yeah.
And I've said it. This is not a place that you want to come and just kind of like, you don't want to come to Turkey to be a barista, right? Like if you're looking for that, I just want to work 30 hours a week. Or, okay, maybe Turkey's not the right spot. But if you're really kind of got that entrepreneurial mindset, or you're into sales, or you're into, import export, or you're into one of these things, I think Turkey offers a tremendous amount of opportunities. You found success here. I found success here. We know countless others from all over the globe who've moved here and found tremendous success, and has really provided a lot of opportunities and has changed their families' lives, for maybe a generation or two.
Yep.
And that offers, that's important to consider when you're looking at going somewhere else. So I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah. And then future outlook too. I was talking to a businessman last week where he had mentioned, Turkey is also in a period of transition, a period of, future growth, development expectations. I think the whole world now is going through a lot, but Turkey's on the cusp of, making it more easy for investors to come in and looking at ways that they can improve, the system, to be an attractive, comfortable country for citizens from all over the world. So
yeah, well, Turkey's a young country, right? So the majority of the population is under the age of 35. So if you really look at that, you understand that just like the rest of the world, the older population is kind of running things now. But over the next 10, 15 years, as the demographics change, the age demographics change, and then the leadership changes, at the local levels, then you're going to see that a lot of more foreign-facing opportunities are going to be, even more, more available and more advantageous for people looking to come in, because the younger generation is, the world is so small, and Turkey is, it's really two different worlds that they're living in currently. So they're not exempt from the polarization that's going on around the world. But what you're seeing is like you have this older demographic that, like 55 plus, that grew up in the countryside, that television and things wasn't existent when they were small, and now they've got all of these technology opportunities, but they don't know how to use them and how to really magnify their chances. But the younger population, the younger demographic does. So as that change of power kind of happens, in the businesses and in the governments and all of those things, I think we're going to see Turkey really rapidly advance. We've seen it in the weapons and the defense sector. We've seen it in the aviation sector, in the mining. All of these things, all of these advancements that are happening in Turkey, they just happen like that. You see it in America where it's like step by step.
Sure.
Here it's like 0 to 100 overnight, and it's wild to see. It's a really unique place in that manner, because it's just it just bombards you out of nowhere, and you're like, how did that happen? When did that happen? So it's pretty impressive to see, and I think it's only going to continue to kind of expound as time goes on. I know I rambled a little bit, but it's just, you get passionate about it and you want to share it and you want to explain it. But thanks as always for being an ear to listen and, being here today. We were able to manage some time. So Josiah, thank you.
Thank you, Justin. And I think this is something we're going to be working on. Of course,
Improving.
Let us know, if there's things we want us to share, or, we have some vision, we have some ideas, how we can make it better.
Yeah, we ask you to subscribe, like,
smash that like button.
Yeah, drop the comments, if there's things that you want to see or learn, and you want to hear us talk about it on end for ad nauseum for 20 minutes or so, let us know. We'd be happy to. So until next time, guys, thanks.